The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark has taken yet another dramatic turn, but this time it isn't about a heartfelt locker room tension or outside pressure. It's about power, control, and a future that suddenly feels wide open despite a contract that seems, at first glance, to lock everything in place. Because when the Indiana Fever made the decision to exercise her fourth-year option, the headlines made it sound simple. Their superstar is staying put through 2027. Stability, commitment. A long-term plan, but beneath that surface lies a far more complicated reality, one that has fans both excited and deeply uneasy at the same time. On paper, this move was inevitable. There was never a world where Indiana would willingly risk losing the most transformative player in the sport today. Clark isn't just a cornerstone for the Fever, she is the foundation, the engine, and the entire identity of the franchise's modern relevance. Since her arrival, everything changed. Arenas filled, broadcast deals expanded, conversations that once barely included the league suddenly revolved around it. Letting her walk early would not have just been a mistake, it would have been catastrophic. So the decision to secure her through 2027 feels logical, almost automatic. But this isn't just about what Indiana chose to do. It's about what that decision unlocks for Clark herself. Because under the league's evolving financial structure, this isn't a traditional contract extension where the team holds the leverage. It's the exact opposite. By exercising that option, the Fever didn't just keep her, they handed her the keys to her own future. She can renegotiate her salary. She can push for a long-term extension on her terms, or she can simply wait, play out the deal, and walk away in 2027 as the most sought-after free agent the league has ever seen. And that is where the tension begins to build. Because while the contract suggests commitment, the reality suggests something closer to a trial period, a countdown, a window in which the organization must prove, beyond any doubt, that it deserves to keep her. For fans, this is where excitement collides with concern. The Fever now have time, but time alone isn't enough. Over the past year, cracks in the organization have become impossible to ignore. Questions about leadership, communication, and long-term vision have lingered, growing louder with each passing controversy. Moments that should have been handled with clarity instead dissolved into confusion. Situations that demanded transparency were met with silence. And in a league where trust is everything, those missteps don't fade easily. The handling of Clark's injury last season still echoes in the minds of supporters. What should have been a straightforward process became a cloud of uncertainty, with shifting timelines and unclear messaging that left fans frustrated and, more importantly, raised questions about how the organization manages its most valuable asset. For a player of Clark's stature, that kind of ambiguity isn't just a minor issue, it's a warning sign. Then there's the coaching dynamic, another layer of uncertainty that continues to fuel debate. Decisions about how Clark is utilized on the court have sparked skepticism, with some believing her unique style is being adjusted rather than amplified in a sport driven by rhythm and confidence. Even subtle changes in role can have major consequences. And when you're dealing with a player who has redefined offensive expectations, the margin for error becomes even smaller. All of this feeds into the larger question that now defines the situation. Does Clark believe in the direction of the franchise? Because that belief, more than any contract clause, will determine what happens next. Financially, she will have options no matter where she goes. Any team in the league would be willing to reshape its entire structure to bring her in. Major markets offer not just bigger platforms, but expanded opportunities beyond the court. Cities like New York or Los Angeles represent more than just basketball destinations. They are global stages where her already massive presence could grow even further. And yet, her influence has already reached a point where geography almost doesn't matter. She carries her audience with her. Wherever she plays, becomes the center of attention. That reality shifts the decision away from money and into something far more personal. It becomes about trust, about environment, about whether she feels supported, understood, and empowered within the organization she currently represents. It becomes about whether the Fever can evolve from a team that relies on her into a team that truly builds around her. For ownership, the message is clear. This move buys time, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Keeping Clark long-term will require more than contracts and negotiations. It will require vision, competence, and a willingness to adapt to a new era of player empowerment. It will require listening as much as leading, because for perhaps the first time in franchise history, the balance of power has shifted completely. Clark is not just another player navigating the system. She is the system's most valuable asset, and she knows it. Every decision from this point forward will be viewed through that lens. Every roster move, every coaching adjustment, every public statement will either build confidence or chip away at it. And as 2027 approaches, those moments will accumulate into a single, defining choice. For fans, the emotional landscape is just as complex. There is pride in seeing their team secure its superstar, but also anxiety about whether the organization can rise to meet the expectations that come with her presence. Some believe this is the beginning of a dynasty, a chance to build something historic around a generational talent. Others fear it could become a missed opportunity, a story of what could have been if only the right decisions had been made at the right time. And that uncertainty is what makes this moment so compelling, because it isn't resolved. It isn't settled. It's just beginning. The contract extension isn't the conclusion of a story. It's the opening chapter of a much larger one, a story about power, accountability, and the evolution of a league that suddenly finds itself under a brighter spotlight than ever before. A story about whether an organization can transform quickly enough to match the pace of its own rising star. And ultimately, a story about choice. Because when 2027 arrives, there will be no ambiguity left. No more waiting, no more speculation. Just a decision that will echo across the entire sport. Will she stay and cement her legacy in Indiana, turning the Fever into a powerhouse built around her vision? Or will she walk away, taking her influence, her audience, and her undeniable impact to a new destination ready to embrace it fully? That answer is still unwritten. And right now, every move brings it closer. So what do you think? Did the Indiana Fever just secure their future? Or did they quietly hand all the power to a player who might still choose to leave? Can this organization truly build a championship environment around Caitlin Clark? Or is this just a temporary chapter before something bigger unfolds elsewhere? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more deep, story-driven breakdowns of the biggest moments shaping sports today, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next.